Hello. Hello specifically Gary, the only person who watches my videos. Um, this is my fourth video, Countdown to Retirement. It's basically a video journal, movies I watch, what books I've read. It's really just for me, because nobody's watching, again, except for one friend. So just kind of me to be able to look back at what I've done every month, and it helps me get through the next 3 years till I retire. My wife and I retire. So this is May 30th, 2016, and this is my fourth video. I have 37 more to go, which last video I had said I had 37 more to go, but I forgot to include June of 2019, which I'll be making a final video at the end of that month. So I miscounted. Last video should have been 38 more to go. This is 37 more to go. Okay, now that I got that out of the way. So I'm going to also go over books that I purchased. I like to go to used bookstores with my family, and this month I did get a lot of books, and I'll explain all of that. So first I'm going to talk about, I read 3 books this month for May, and I'm going to tell you what they are now. Give me a second here. Okay. First book, 30 Years of Army Life on the Border by Randolph B. Marcy. This is a book that I actually self-published, a print-on-demand company. I downloaded the PDF file from possibly Google Books or archive.org, one of them, I don't remember which one, and basically I just sized the pages correctly, fixed the resolution, printed up. It's a nice book. I'm happy with it, and made the cover. So Marcy was an army officer in the mid-1800s, spent a lot of time in the Southwest. The book is made up a lot of his anecdotes. He was a good storyteller. Some good stories about Black Beaver, Delaware Indian. He reviews trips that he took, some of it in diary format, some of it more interesting than others, but all of it good information about what life was like back then. Again, mostly he's good for the anecdotal stories that he tells. He's humorous. He looks for, the odd things, and he was aware of that. And the only thing about it is that he was a man of his times in terms of his beliefs. So, the Indians have superstitions, and Christianity is true. He doesn't see the stories that he believes in mythology and legends the same way that the Indians did. It's the same kind of bias that goes on today. And I should add here so that it's clear that I am a naturalist / atheist / free thinker. I don't believe in anything like that. Gods, create a God. I just think we live in a natural world, and we don't know everything about it yet, but it's all explained naturally. And I'll be getting actually more to that in a few minutes when I talk about another book that I read. So the book is very good, but you just got to get past his occasional comments. He's a man of manifest destiny mindset, but entertaining, kind of guy that you could imagine at a party, people are drinking, and he's telling stories, and everybody's listening to him. He'd be like, the center of attention. So that kind of guy. Okay, and he actually has a few books. So if you like that one, there's others that he wrote, and you can get some of them online to download. Some of them have been reprinted, and as a matter of fact, that one, 30 Years of Army Life on the Border, may have been reprinted by Oklahoma Press. I have this vague memory of buying it not too long ago. So it might actually be available in a new edition. I seem to think that it's hard to keep track sometimes. I'm getting older. I forget stuff. Okay, James Welch, the Indian lawyer. James Welch is well-known Indian author. He passed away a few years ago. I don't remember the year. He's famous for writing a book called Fool's Crow, which is supposed to be an authentic look at Blackfoot Indian life circa 1869-1870 when the Baker Massacre occurred in Montana. And that was a very good book. I read that book when I was living in Montana, which was in the early 1990s. So I probably read that book around 1992 or 3 or 4, somewhere in there. And I remember liking it a lot. But so long ago, I just don't remember. And plus, I've grown a lot since then. So if I read it again, I might see things differently, appreciate it more. Although I did really like it back then. So I was curious about another book of his. The other books he has that are novels, because he wrote a book about the Battle of the Little Bighorn, history book. But the ones that are novels, other than Fool's Crow, are kind of contemporary books, take place in the 1900s. So this book, like the Death of Jim Loney, Winter in the Blood, and this one, I think those are the 3 contemporary novels. This one is about a Blackfoot Indian named Sylvester Yellowcalf, and he's a lawyer, and he's also a member of a parole board in Montana, and it's a story about how he gets blackmailed and by a prisoner, and what happens, and it was really very good. Poignant. I enjoyed it and definitely recommend it, and looking forward to reading the other books that he wrote, Winter in the Blood, and I just said it a moment ago, but you see I'm forgetting stuff. Winter in the Blood, The Indian Lawyer, which I just read, and I am totally blank on the other book. So it goes. And the other book that I read this month, this is the one that I said I mentioned before about religion and atheism and so forth. So The Big Picture by Sean Carroll. This is a brand new book, and I read it as soon as it came out. Had pre-ordered it on Amazon, and this was a very good book. Sean Carroll, what he says just makes sense to me. I mean, I can listen to him talk, and I just, that doesn't mean I agree with every little thing that he says. I have some of my own views, but I'm not a physicist. I assume he knows what he's talking about, but some of it is, he goes beyond the known science. He guesses at things, which is fine. I mean, it's as long as you're basing your opinions and your theories and making deductions based on realistic scientific ideas, fine. I have no problem with that. I mean, I hear William Lane Craig talk, and did I just say William Lane Craig? Choke on that name. As long as, when I hear him talk, I get sick inside. I can't take it. What is this man talking about? He's crazy. He's loony. Sean Carroll speaks, and it just makes sense to me. He has, if you go to YouTube, you can find lectures that he's done, debates that he's done, speeches that he's given, and I just listen to him, and I could just hear him read a toothpaste tube, and I just find it entertaining. I just think he's a smart guy. I did email him once through his blog, and he did not answer. Still, I like him a lot, but Sean should have answered me, especially because what I wrote, you have since come to say what I wrote to you, which I'm not going to get into, but you have since come to kind of say what I had written to you about, and I was unaware that you had that view at the time that I emailed you. But you've kind of confirmed what I wrote to you, which makes me wonder, did I actually put that idea in your head? And I'm like, no, how could that be? I can't influence you. Could I? I don't think so. I'm not going to take credit for it. It's just this idea that's in my head. But I'm sure you had the idea before I ever emailed you. No, I'm being serious. I'm sure you did. Okay, enough of that. Okay, down to the movies. I watched about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 or 9 movies. Okay, so Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant in Holiday. Great movie. I wish there was more time spent with these two characters together. Watched the movie. It was very good. Cary Grant is actually engaged to Katharine Hepburn's sister. That's why the two of them don't spend the most time in the movie together. But when they are together, it's great. And I really enjoyed this movie. Watch it. I mean, if you like that kind of thing. It's called Holiday. I thought it was the two of them together on a trip. That's not what the movie is about. It's called Holiday because it's actually a weak title for the movie, but I guess it's okay. He wants to go on a holiday, Cary Grant, to see about life and not get tied down to work, and he wants to experience things while he's young. And so it's called Holiday for that reason, I guess. But it's when you look at the picture, you think the two of them are on a trip. It's called Holiday, and maybe they go to Italy or something, France, but no. But it was good. Okay, Pitfall. Dick Powell and Elizabeth Scott. I enjoyed this movie a lot. Elizabeth, not Elizabeth, but Elizabeth Scott. Clearly meant to be a Lauren Bacall type of character. Good in her own right. And it was an enjoyable movie. Film noir. Watch it. An Affair to Remember. Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. Directed by Leo McCarey. Usually I don't mention directors, but I'm mentioning this one because he had a influence in the movie, I think, that I found was the part of the movie I didn't like. There was kind of religious overtones to the movie. Sometimes it wasn't even an overtone, it was in your face. McCarey, if I recall correctly, because I read it a few weeks ago, was Catholic, and which was fine. But I think he used his personal beliefs in the movie and kind of pushed the religious angle. If you can get past that, it was enjoyable. For some people, I'm sensitive to it, so I noticed it. And then I looked it up, and then I started to read about it, and I saw that other people were also seeing what I saw. But there are other people who watch it who, because you either aren't in tune looking for that, or you already believe in it, and so it kind of just doesn't even faze you. It's just a part of your life. But for me, the religion, that angle, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So I noticed it, but it wasn't a bad movie. I just feel that it could have been better without the religious angle. The Grass is Greener. Again, Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. Also Robert Mitchum was in here, and Gene Simmons. Not the Gene Simmons of Kiss. This is Gene Simmons with a J. They may have the same kind of tongue, I don't know. But this movie was pretty good, a bit offbeat, but entertaining. I'm trying to remember what it was about. Watched a number of movies this month, and I'm just forgetting things. But it was good. I can actually look something up here to tell you real quick. The Grass is Greener. Actually, my notes here just say enjoyable but odd. The Awful Truth. Irene Dunne and Cary Grant. The Awful Truth was awfully good. I really liked this movie. I'd watch it again. It was kind of like His Girl Friday in terms of quick, witty dialogue. Cary Grant was really great at that kind of movie. And Good. Good movie. The Awful Truth. What notes did I make here? Let's see. Oh, one thing about the movie, though. It was very good, but there's a line in the movie, I think they might say it more than once, that marriage is based on faith. Now, people use that word, faith, they kind of have to change it with trust. It really mean different things. Faith means you have no evidence. Trust could be, you have evidence, so you trust that, you have evidence that, your wife makes dinner for you every day, let's say, and so you trust that tomorrow will be the same thing. You're going to come home and she'll be there making dinner, happy home. Why did I pick a woman in a home being, I don't know, my dream life, I don't know. But anyway, my wife does make dinner, though. Not that I don't cook sometimes myself, but not a lot. But anyway, the line in the movie, I've lost my train of thought talking about this other stuff. Anyway, the person says marriage is based on faith. Well, again, this movie I think was directed by McCarey, was it? Yeah, Leo McCarey. Again, he's putting his faith ideas into the movie. It's very minor in this movie. Not it's not a big deal, but it did make an impression on me. So I think they just should have said trust rather than having Cary Grant say that marriage is based on faith. He should have said trust. Small point, but there you go. This next movie, I expected more. It wasn't bad, but anytime I see skeletons with swords fighting pirates, it just reminds me of Sinbad, and I just don't like it. So Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp, it wasn't bad. There's a lot of extras. I'll probably like the extras better when I get to listen to like the commentaries. It's more fun listening to how the movie was made and behind the scenes anecdotes. I might enjoy that more than the movie itself. It wasn't bad. It's the kind of thing you put on in the background and just let it play. I just expected more. I can't really explain. It was a long movie, and I just think it was kind of gimmicky. Maybe that's what it's gimmicky, and so I was hoping for something better. That's not bad. This movie was pretty good. George Washington Slept Here, Jack Benny, and Ann Sheridan. I'm losing my voice. I forgot to bring a drink. Okay, so this movie is about husband and wife, and Jack Benny, of course, is a funny guy, and his wife goes and buys a house out in the country to get, they want to get out of the city, and this house needs a lot of work. It was comical, it was amusing, Jack Benny's good, I liked it, light comedy, good for the family, so good movie. Now this next movie was a clunker, worse than Pirates of the Caribbean. I was really surprised. This is a new movie, it won awards, spoken about highly. I picked it up on impulse at B&N, Barnes & Noble. Overpaid for it, there's no extras. What movie am I talking about? The Revenant, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy. I really didn't like this movie. I've read about the American West for the better part of my life. I'm almost 50. And since I'm like in kindergarten, I've seriously been interested in like American Indians and Custer in the West. And so I've read, Hugh Glass's story over the years. One of the earliest books, if not the earliest book that his story was in, was a guy named Thomas James. 99% sure that was Thomas James. 3 years among the Mexicans and Indians, whether the title might change with reprints. It's something like that. And I've read it, other accounts. This movie really just, even though the real story is lost to history, they really just made up their own story. The movie is inspired by Hugh Glass, but they shouldn't have used Hugh Glass in the movie. And Jim Bridger, they should have just gotten rid of that. Just said it's inspired by the story of Hugh Glass and make up their own story. What they did was they basically used the names of real historical people and just changed the story to suit the story they wanted to tell based on this book, The Revenant, which I didn't read, so I don't know how closely it follows that book. But it was a disaster. I don't care how hard they worked on it. I don't care that they were out in the cold for days on end. First of all, I've lived in Montana. The scenery here does not look like Montana, okay? It doesn't. So it's not even authentic in that way. Oh, sure, the scenery is nice, but it's not authentic to the story. The people, the characters portrayed are not authentic to the real people. It's a made-up story, and I really just didn't like it. The fight scenes, some of them I didn't like. Not even going into more details about it. It was disappointing. I don't know what to say. I really expected so much more. Last movie of the month that I watched. Actually, tomorrow, it's a holiday. Might watch some movies still May, but I'll just put that into the June video, the end of June video. So the last movie for this video is The Blue Dahlia. Alan Ladd and Veronica Lake. It's a great name, Veronica Lake. I really like this movie. It's very enjoyable. Having said that, the downside of it was that there's implausible, not that it's impossible, but there were just coincidences in the story that just seemed like, oh, come on, this is like... So, if you can get past that, and again, could happen, but just seemed like a lot. So the coincidences just, a little bit over the top sometimes. Written by Raymond Chandler. It was a good movie. It was enjoyable. You can get past the coincidences, the good luck of the way things work out, then it was a very enjoyable movie, and I liked it. What was it about? Is that what you just asked me? Let's see. I wrote it down here. The Blue Dahlia. I wrote sultry women and good actors make up for an improbable plot. So, yeah, again, a plot, parts of it are improbable, but the acting was good, the women were sultry. Who doesn't like sultry women? William Bendix was in this movie, and he plays a former World War II soldier. Matter of fact, the main characters in the movie, these three guys, their friends, they're all former World War II soldiers. So this movie takes place in like the mid to late 1940s, and William Bendix is a soldier who has a plate in his head, and he had gotten hurt in the war, and he can't stand like loud music, and he goes nuts when it's on. He was very entertaining, and the movie was a good movie. I'd watch it again. I recommend it. By the way, I do not have professional lighting. I have no overhead light in my living room. I moved the lamp that's in the corner out a little bit more to give me more light, and I try to keep the computer screen going for extra light. But if you really want it brighter than this, I'd have to go somewhere else, and I'm kind of comfortable here, surrounded with my books in my computer chair. So, those were the books and movies that I watched in May and read in 2016. Next, let's talk about the books, the bookstores that I went to and what I purchased. First of all, I went before I go to actual used bookstores, let me just tell about this. I usually don't buy things in Barnes & Noble because it's full price, and why pay full price? So, but I bought this on the bargain table, Edgar Allan Poe. This was really looked like a very interesting book, written by Charlotte Montague. There's lots of pictures in here, tidbits of information, so it's not like it's a hardcore read, but it looked really entertaining, very, very interesting. So I picked it up. I think it was $9.99. Really looked good. I'm looking forward to reading it. Okay. Let's see what else. I picked up this book here, A Pictorial History of the Western Film by Everson. It doesn't have a dust jacket, so, but here it is. This was like maybe a couple of bucks outside a used bookstore. You can never know what you're going to find. It pays to look. I picked up about, in the last couple of months, maybe like 12 to 15 books on Western film. Haven't had a chance to read any yet, but with retirement comes lots of time. Let's just hope for good health and long life, so I can do all this reading. I picked up, this is my second copy of this book. The other copy I have, maybe a year or two ago, How the West Was Won. This is from the movie, not the series, with the McCain family. And basically it's some light text with like screenshots from the movie. So it's kind of like just a skimpy picture book about the movie. But I kind of like it. It's got some nice pictures in it again, color, black and white. And it was just I think it was a couple of bucks. So, nice thing to have. Let's see, I got this on eBay, The Last Apaches. This is about Nana, an Apache chief, 1881. He was part of a famous raid, and this is like a novelization of that raid by William Hobson. Nice cover, nice vintage. I can see the binding is not so great anymore, but I can read it. So that was a nice one. Now we went to the Book Barn in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up, well, my wife found this one for me. It was $4. When I show you this for $4, you're going to think, wow, that was some steal. The BFI Companion to the Western, edited by Edward Buscombe and forward by Richard Schickel. It's a thick book. It's like brand new. I mean, if it was read gently. This is it's kind of like a dictionary of movies and Western people, places, and names, and just lots of information. Like an encyclopedia almost. Really pretty cool. For $4, can't go wrong. I put on the nice, all my hardcovers with dust jackets. I put these nice sleeves on them. Keep them nice. So I got that. Let's see, I got Frederick Remington and the Spanish-American War by Douglas Allen. I have a bunch of Remington books. Quite a nice collection. Charles Russell. This is my second copy of this book. The other one I have is a little bit beat up. Not terribly, but this one is in very nice condition. It was only $4. It's 50 Charles M. Russell paintings of the American West. And it includes my favorite painting of the American West of all time. I'm going to find it for you any day now. Give me a second. It's funny, I opened this up before and went right to the page, and now that I want it, oh, here we go. The Medicine Man. And it's a little bit hard to see, but this is my favorite painting of the American West. Charlie Russell really outdid himself on that one. This is just a painting for the ages. This takes you back. The Medicine Man. And Look it up on Google. Great painting. So that book was good. And then this one here, I took a chance on. I think this book was $5 or $7. William Clark's World, hardcover. William Clark's World, describing America in an age of unknowns, and it was like in excellent mint condition. I don't even know if it's been read. Looked it up on the internet, and it's selling for like, some people were selling it for like over $70. So, and it got good review. I looked it up again on Google, found some like journal or something that had reviewed it, got a good review, and so I'm happy to have this. It's a relatively new book too. Peter J. Castor with a K, William Clark's World. So that was a good find. Okay, now some more books I got at the Book Barn before I forget. I always, when I'm shopping for books and I see like pamphlets like stuck in between books, I always pull them out. You never know what they are. So these were out on a kiosk outside where things were being given away for $1, and I found Fort Union, New Mexico by Robert Utley from like the early 1960s booklet, and Fort Laramie by Hybe, David Hieb, Hybe. So Fort Laramie, of course, Wyoming, and these were just $1, and they're nice. They're booklets from again the Park Service from the early 1960s. Nice covers, very good condition, $1. I was very happy when I pulled those out. Let's see, I picked up some paperbacks there. The Virginian, I have this book already with this cover. I have several versions. This was in great condition, and paperbacks are generally $1 at the Book Barn, so pick this up. I like the cover. Trail Boss by Peter Dawson, looked interesting. Louis B. Patton, Red Runs the River. This book here is about, basically it's a guy named John Sessions. He's a made up character, but he's placed by the author in real events, which in this case is in 1868, the Battle of Beecher Island is a part of the book, and he's there. So it looked interesting. Otherwise, I might have passed on it, but I just like, I know that battle and thought it would be interesting, see how the author tied it all together. Now this book I have already, but the cover is really cool, and it's an edited version of My Life on the Plains. And by the way, I put all the books in these little book sleeves. I like to keep everything nice. So it was in excellent condition, and I like the cover. It's a lot of these books. They're nice just to put it on the shelf, like kind of like art. So okay, Guns from Thunder Mountain, Claire Huffaker. It's got some good reviews. Looked interesting. Will Cook, Until Day Breaks. This Saga of Texas, Book 1. But I was flipping through the pages, looked like it could be interesting. About the Comanches in Texas. Now, let's see. I picked up Tarzan #1. I have this book, but it was like in excellent condition. And I know these, the black cover ones, they're nice collectibles, they're nice art. And so I figured for $1, let me get another one. Yeah, nice cover, pretty cool. Let's see here, Dashiell Hammett, The Thin Man. I don't really understand the cover. Haven't read the book yet. I have another paperback, I think, with the same paperback of this book, but not this version. I'm saying that all wrong. I have another paperback, but it's different than this one. That's what I meant to say. And this is a nice little vintage book for $1. You go online and try to find this, or some bookstores, they might sell this for $7.50, $10, or $15. So for $1, you get it. Even if you already have it, it's just nice vintage. I love books. The greatest invention ever. Now, for those who know me, which is 2 or 3 people, and only one of whom, hi Gary, who watches these videos, my favorite TV show of all time is Farscape. Now, there were 3 novels, I think, written about the show, besides comics. One of them got really bad reviews, and I actually don't even, I think the guy's name was Diamond, D-Y-M-O-N-D, who wrote that particular book. I don't have that one. I would buy it just to have it if I ever see it in nice shape. But I did see these 2, and they were like perfect copies for $1 each. So Ship of Ghosts by David Bischoff got mixed reviews, but again, I wanted to have it as Farscape. House of Cards by Keith R.A. DiCandido got the best reviews of the bunch. So I'm happy to have them. Pretty cool to add to my collection. Farscape. Okay, by the way, I have in my head, I hope I get to do this, but after I retire in a few years, I have a Farscape project I would like to do, different from what anybody else has done, related to Farscape and reviewing it. We'll see if it comes to be. It's an idea in my head. I'd like to follow through with it. So we'll see. Now, so before I show these next set of books, another thing even. So at the Book Barn, again, they have like these outside kiosks with a lot of books for $1. And so I was looking at them, and I found, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 hardcover military history quarterlies. Now, when I say I found 14, I actually found like 50, but I went through them all. It took a while. Went through all the table of contents and took the ones that were of interest to me. So, which basically have articles on the American West, the Civil War, Lewis and Clark, Comanches, Sitting Bull, Geronimo. Did I say the Civil War? War of 1812 might have been in here. Basically anything of interest with the American West, American history. So I found 14 of them, and I already read a few articles that I really liked a lot, and these are hardcover. This magazine is still in print, but I guess they changed from hardcover to regular magazine softcover. For $1 each, I mean, you can't go wrong. And a lot of them have articles in here that outside my regular reading interest, like about Romans or gladiators and things like that, maybe I'll someday read out of interest. So I was happy to find that. On the back, on this one here, there's a Remington painting. So that was pretty cool. And so now next to the next bookstore we went to. Now, my last video mentioned the Bookworm in Poughkeepsie. They're going out of business in the middle of June. So just a few more weeks, they're gone. This was a great store. Paperbacks, almost entirely paperbacks, but not only paperbacks. They had some other stuff. I can't believe they're going out of business. I'm like really personally sad about this. I really enjoyed going to that store, and you could just spend 2-3 hours there looking at books. You could find old vintage books, and everything was half price. So if it was a more modern paperback, which usually sell for like, let's say about $8 to $10, so you'd pay half price plus a quarter. But older books, stuff that you go online, or some stores that would sell these books for $10, $15. If it was marked 60 cents, you get it for 30 cents plus a quarter. And they would get constantly, old vintage books, westerns, mysteries, historical fiction, whatever. So much fun to look around and see what you could find. You could either trade in, which I never did, or just buy outright. And I would just, my family would go there every few weeks and spend a few hours there and look at books. So I went, my last trip there last month, I had first learned that they were closing down. I didn't know. So we really tried to get everything we could, not knowing we were going to get to go back, because we really didn't have time to go back. But our plans for this last weekend were canceled. And so we said, well, let's go there one more time and say our goodbye. So we did, and I looked around, and I found a bunch of stuff. I walked out of there with 34, 35 books, which I'm going to show you now. So, some of these, I may not have purchased, but in previous times, but everything was 50. All paperbacks were 50 cents now, so I wasn't going to let it sit. I wasn't going to worry about it too much. 50 cents, I'm buying it, and the paperbacks were 50 cents. The bigger soft covers, like the next size up from a paperback, were 75 cents. Hard covers were $1, but I didn't have anything of interest to me in hardcover. So I picked up Will Cook, Ambush at Antlers of Spring. Now, I've seen this book there in the past, and I never bought it. But 50 cents now, I figured, let me just get it. Actually, it was 50 cents to begin with. But I just don't want to leave, the cover was nice, and I've seen the book, but I have so much to read, and I just would not get everything that was of interest. But I just, now that they're closing, this is my last chance. Where am I going to see this book ever again? So I just say, you know what? It's just time to get whatever I want and say goodbye. Now, this book here, Wilderness, it's 2 books in one. One book is about Hugh Glass, who was also the character in The Revenant that I was speaking about before. And the other story here is about a guy named John Coulter, both mountain men of the American West in the early 1800s. And there's 2 different authors, Roger Zelazny and Gerald Hausman. Again, it's called Wilderness. 2 books in one. Figured I'd get that. Now, this book I already have, but haven't read it yet. The copy I have is in mint condition, so I figured I'd get this. It's been read, but it's still in great shape. The Alamo, The Gates of the Alamo by Stephen Harrigan. I've read a little bit about the Alamo. It's interesting. So I figured 50 cents, nice book. I have a reading copy. Let's see here. This book here, I actually picked up last month. They had 2 copies of it, and I bought their good copy last month, Sun Boy by Robert Steelman, about a white man that goes to live with the Kiowas. So this is more of a reading copy. It's not in bad shape, but it's not in excellent shape. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's good for reading. So figured I might as well just get it and have them save the other copy. This book here, I doubt I'll ever read it. Even the movie I haven't seen. It's called Big Jake with John Wayne. But I have another book with John Wayne on the cover for a movie, which escapes me at the moment. I probably showed it in a previous video. But now I have 2 books with John Wayne on the cover. And so it's kind of just a cool thing to have. It's actually a novelization. The movie came out first, if I understand right, and then the book. So, there you go. Let's see here. Now, I showed before this book, actually, Lewis Patton, Red Runs the River, about the guy that is at Beecher Island. So this book is in, I would say, a grade or 2 less than the previous book. So this will be my reading copy. It's not in bad shape, but the other one was better. And so this will be for reading. Oh, speaking of Hugh Glass, some of you will some of you like who's watching this. Gary will know this. Man in the Wilderness, Jack DeWitt, written by Jack DeWitt, and there's Richard Harris on the cover, and on the back, same picture. This, of course, was made into a movie with Richard Harris about Hugh Glass, which also, I do believe, I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I think it took a lot of liberties with the real story. But I haven't seen it in a long, long time. I remember they were dragging a boat overland, which I don't think happened. I don't remember any other details. But I might have actually seen the movie before I ever even read about the real Hugh Glass, or at least read about it in a way that it stuck in my head. So I do recall enjoying the movie just as a movie. There you go. And I think it was that movie was not even filmed in Montana. I think it was filmed in Spain. But again, I watched it a long time ago when I was a kid, and I had different expectations. I'm older now. I expected more from the DiCaprio film, but this was a good find. Definitely, I'm happy I found this. Let's see here. This, I've never heard of this author before. Al Sarantonio, West Texas. It had a cool cover. Again, going out of business, better buy it, because when they're gone, they're gone. So, it says here, Gripping an Expert, the Rocky Mountain News. We'll see. It's about Lieutenant Thomas Mullen, a retired U.S. cavalry officer, and he is hired to investigate something. Some people are being killed, and I guess it takes place in Texas, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if this is like supernatural killings. I just have no idea if this is some murderer, an Indian, some crazed psychopath, hillbilly. I don't know. If I live long enough to read, I will find out. I said if I live long enough to read it, not long enough to read. I think, just to be clear. Let's see here. G. Clifton Whistler. They had two of them. The author, again, G. Clifton Whistler. Maybe his first name is George or Greg. I don't know. My Brother the Wind. This is about a boy who... it says here, the Civil War and Cheyenne warriors force a young orphan into early manhood and a bitter struggle for survival. Both books were in nice condition. I figured I'll just get them both. Hopefully it's a good story. And I will have 2 copies. Another G. Clifton Whistler book. Again, 2 copies they had. The reason why this book attracted me in particular, and this one is called Comanche Crossing. For those, or just for Gary, probably can recognize the artist. Take a look. Who do you think? If you said Henry Farney, you are right. I do believe this is a Henry Farney painting or a damn good ripoff. I looked inside the cover, did not say Henry Farney anywhere. They should have given him credit. I'm 99.99% sure it is him, so I figured I'd buy this just because of the cover art, even if the story wasn't good, just because that's Henry Farney's painting, and Henry Farney is a famous artist of the American West. Now, I read The Virginian by Owen Wister, which I showed you before, last year or the year before, and so I thought it was pretty good. It's obviously been the inspiration for a lot of westerns since then. So I saw these, they were in excellent shape. So Lynn McLean, this is about a cowboy that goes east, I think to Boston, for a woman. And it's got good reviews. I'm hoping that it's a good book. I do plan to read that. Owen Wister. And this here is 2 short stories by Owen Wister. A Pilgrim on the Gila, pronounced Gia or Gila, but it's Spanish, so I think it's Gia. And La Tinaja Bonita. La Tinaja Bonita. I feel like I'm doing some kind of Spanish-English lesson here. I don't know what La Tanija means. There you go, though. 2 stories. Book was in excellent shape. 50 cents. Owen Wister. Next, I purchased 2 books by Will Henry. The Tall Men, which I have this book already, but with a different cover. The other book is more vintage, so I'll make this my reading copy. And this book here was a little bit damaged, but and I actually purchased it on the internet today, a better copy with a different cover. Return of the Tall Man, which is obviously must be related to the Tall Men. I'm guessing that they're related. Except for the cover and a couple of pages inside here being shorn off somehow. The book itself is in great shape. And just skimming through it, it takes place in the late 1860s, it looks like. There's lots of mention of Indians, and it just looked interesting. Will Henry's hit or miss. Some people like him a lot. I think he has his good moments, but not always consistent. Hopefully those books are good, but at 50 cents, you just got to get them while you can. Okay, now, let's see here. These books were, first I'll do these. Raymond Chandler, this is just a reading copy. I have this actual book already in better shape, so I bought this as a reading copy. Pick up on Noon Street. Four short stories by Raymond Chandler. When you're going to work, commuting, it's good to have. And this here, it's hard to maybe see. It's a nice little vintage copy. A.A. Fair is Earl Stanley Gardner's pen name, one of his pen names anyway, and it's called Spill the Jackpot. And so that looked interesting. Excuse me, knock stuff down. There's actually some more westerns here that I forgot about, but I'll get to those in a minute. Let me show these. So these were 75 cents each because they're bigger. So I got James Welch, Fool's Crow. Looks like it might not have even been read. I have several copies of this book. Winter in the Blood, James Welch. This is more of a contemporary book. And Indian Lawyer, which I held up before, I bought another copy, which I have here somewhere. So I have more than one of that. And then I picked up The Long Goodbye, Raymond Chandler, and The Big Sleep, Raymond Chandler. These covers kind of lame. I mean, I don't know. They could have done better, but still, for reading copies, they're more than adequate. And both books were in great shape. So now I have some more westerns that I picked up at the Poughkeepsie Bookworm that's going out of business. So let me show you the first batch here. Journal of the Gun Years, Richard Matheson. I'm 99% sure I read this book many years ago, like when it first came out, but I don't have it anymore, and I saw it. It was in great shape. I figured I'll just get it again, 50 cents. I think I had gotten rid of it. Oh, I'm off camera. I think I had gotten rid of it in a move. When I was leaving Montana, I had gotten rid of a lot of books foolishly. But I've repurchased a lot of them, if not all of them, but all the important ones I think I've gotten again. It was a really down time in my life, and I wasn't thinking clearly, and sold off a lot of stuff. I've more than made up for it, believe me. Now this was a movie. Tell Them Willie Boy is here. This is based on a true story I think it took place in 1909 in California. Robert Redford was in the movie with Robert Blake, who's on the cover here. I have never seen the movie, but this was too good to pass up. 50 cents, in great shape. Crooked Lance, Lou Cameron. Lou Cameron wrote the novelization of the TV series How the West Was Won. This looked pretty interesting. I was skimming through the pages, and so I picked that up. These two books here are part of a series which extends past what I have here, written by Leo P. Kelly. One is called Indian Fighter, and one is called Outlaw. And Luke Sutton, Indian Fighter, and Luke Sutton, Outlaw. And this one takes place in 1876. Custer is in here. I was skimming through it. It's got a cool cover. Both of them are nice covers. So I figure, I'll just pick them up. Hopefully they're good. If they're not, it was only $1. Let's see. Oh, so now these here are part of a series with different authors. Each one picks on like a different tribe. I remember when these came out in the early 80s, and I may have had some, but I don't have them anymore. I probably got rid of them in that move a long time ago, like 25 years ago. Nez Perce Legend by Mick Klumpner. I have some Western novels by him, a couple of them. And so here you go, Nez Perce. Cheyenne Raiders by Jackson O'Reilly, which is not his real name. His real name is Robert Jordan. And this book was also published under that name. I've seen it around. So Cheyenne Raiders. This is part of a series called American Indians. This was book number 6. The Nez Perce Legend book was number 10. This next one here, I don't think this has been read. It's like a mint condition. Kiowa Fires by Donald Porter. He wrote a lot of historical fiction in the 80s. So Kiowa Fires, and that I think is Setank on the cover. I think. My memory's going. Blackfoot Ambush by Catherine Weber. Cool cover. I think the story is probably entirely fictional. It takes place in 1868, but I was getting all the other ones. I figured let me get that one too. Apache War Cry. This has a cool cover. I like that. This is by Donald Porter again. This is book number 8. I don't know how many were in the whole series. I'm sure it's on Google somewhere. But I picked up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So this had good reviews actually. Minus Coloradus, it's about Apache Chief. The next one, Crow Warriors by Bill Hotchkiss. Hotchkiss also wrote a book about Jim Bridger. I read a long time ago. It wasn't that bad. I have this book already, but it's a reading copy. It's not in terrible shape, but this is in better shape. So this will be a copy to save. And last, because I'm almost out of time on this video, I have 1 hour to record, and we're up to almost close to 59 minutes coming up on. Sue Arrows by Donald Porter again. This is a thick book. It looks barely red. There's a slight crease, but not much. This is about Red Cloud's War. It's the late 1860s. So that's it. I'm going to make another video, part 2 to this, talking about The Big Picture by Sean Carroll, which I'm going to hopefully do tonight. So that's it for this month. Hope you enjoyed it. It was fun going over everything that I purchased and watched and read. And until next month when I do the next one of these, adios. And don't forget to stay tuned for Sean Carroll, The Big Picture. Where is my stylus? Bye-bye. One last thing that I forgot. I picked up from Oklahoma Press. They were having a sale. The Trial of Tom Horn. Brand new book. And This is going to run out the video any second. Frederick Remington, a catalog of his work, edited by Peter Hasrick. And that's it. We're out of time. That's what's going to tell